In this video, we're going to have a look at areas of triangles and parallelograms. Let's take a right angle triangle. Let's say that the bottom length is the base, will designate B, and the height, being at right angles to the base, will designate as H. We can now see that the area of the entire square, in this case, that the is surrounding the triangle would be found by base times height. But in fact, the area of the triangle is half of that space, that is base times height divided by 2. Another way to write that is half base times height, being multiplying by half is the same as dividing by 2, or simply you'll see the formula written as 1/2 BH. Let's take this second example. Again, the bottom we'll call base, and the height always has to be perpendicular or right angles to the base. So the height would be along here. Let's designate that as H. Now you can see that if we look at just the left-hand side of the triangle, it is half of the rectangle that it is within, and on the other side the triangle is half of the rectangle that it is in. That is, it's half of the two smaller rectangles. Therefore, the entire triangle is half of the larger triangle. So the formula, again, for a non-right angle triangle is also a half base height. Just remember though, the height always is the length of the perpendicular line from the chosen base and not any of the slant heights. Let's do an example. Here we have a triangle. So the area for a triangle is found by half base height. In this case, it's half times the base times the height of 3. Don't get put off by this slant height of 6 kilometers. We're using the perpendicular height. So a half times 9 times 3 is 27. A half of 27 is 13.5 centimeters squared. Now let's have a look at parallelograms. A parallelogram is a four-sided shape with two pairs of parallel sides. The opposite sides of the parallelogram are equal in length. If you divide a parallelogram into two small triangles and a square or a rectangle in the middle, you can see that if you cut off this end and you moved it, it would fit in to this spot exactly. That is, it would make then a rectangle. If the bottom of the parallelogram is the base and the perpendicular height is H, you can see then by moving this triangle into the spot, we would have a rectangle. Finding the area of a rectangle is length times width, but in this case it is base times height, or simply BH. Another way to think about this is if you divide the parallelogram diagonally, you would have two triangles. Again, base and the height. In this case, you would have two triangles with a formula half base times height plus half base times height. 1/2 of a base times height plus another half of a base times height. You would get the same formula as we got before. Let's use this formula. For this parallelogram, to find the area, it's just base times height. The base is 12 centimeters and the height must be perpendicular to the chosen base is 6 centimeters. Therefore, the area is 72 centimeters squared.